What's going on, guys? Dan from SSG bringing you another Edison format deck profile. This time I'm profiling my Gadget Robbin Goblin deck. This deck is pretty sweet. For those who don't know, it's going to be based around 3 copies of Robbin Goblin. Whenever a monster you control inflicts battle damage to an opponent anyway, whether it be destroying a monster by battle, they attack into your defense position monster, you get to discard a random card out of your opponent's hand. We're going to be referencing this card quite a bit. It's a continuous trap, and it's very powerful, and I think wildly underplayed. This card has been doing a lot of work for me. I've been building a lot of decks around it, and this is one I feel comfortable bringing you guys because I've had some success testing with it. So let's get right into the deck. So we are running 45 cards. So we're going to run all 9 gadgets here. I love gadget decks. I think people sort of think these decks don't take skill or they're not fun to play or whatever, but you really just have to get creative with these. I kind of like all 9 of the 45 because there's really nasty combos you can do with Ultimate Offering. I've probably shown those in my previous videos, but all 9 gadgets. What's really good about the Robbin Goblin and gadgets is like you really don't need to hit them like more than once with the Robbin Goblin after you resolve a gadget to just kind of like drown them in card advantage. And I think having that addition of all your gadgets becoming Spirit Reaper after they already have gained card advantage coming into play is just actually insane. Being able to be like a +2 essentially is just wild. Of course, the first discard of Robbin Goblin is going to be replacing itself, but Robbin Goblin's just really good. Like discarding a random card out of their hand, just drowning them in resources, and you have all these 1-for-1 cards and gadgets getting card advantage. I just thought the gadgets were the first way to go with Robbin Goblin, and it's been really awesome for me. We are also running 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva and 1 copy of Spine Gilman. Diva's nasty with Robbin Goblin. The ability to just normal summon and make 2 monsters is just actually insane. A lot of times you're just going to be summoning this, grabbing the Spine Gilman, and then threatening to attack directly with 2 monsters. Of course, you have so many removal spells and trap cards to get rid of in your gadget deck. Get rid of your opponent's monsters, clear the way, and then these cards can come down and just like completely blow the opponent out of the water, hand loop them. There was a game online, shout out to my friend David, we were testing online, and I just turn 1, went this, set Robbin Goblin. He was playing like, I believe it was frogs. He like did a normal summon, a swap, bounced it back. Turn 2, I summoned the Diva, get another Diva, had 4 monsters in play, and basically hand looped him on turn 2. Just, you know, that's not always going to happen, but even a gadget is three cards out of their hand right there. Very strong. Diva is just really good at presenting 2 cards for 1. And with Robbin Goblin, that's really insane. But also, in combination with Ultimate Offering and a gadget, Diva can really do some nasty things with Bryonic, bouncing your own Diva back to your hand and things like that. I have showed that combo previously on the channel, and that is one I've been enjoying quite a bit. Now, the hot tech with Robbin Goblin. 3 copies of Hydrogeddon here. Hydrogeddon's just a sweet old school card, but I actually think it's pretty like well positioned right now with all these recruiter decks. Things like fairies and zombies, you can kind of just run into the recruiters, run into the tomatoes, and get card advantage, especially with Robbin Goblin. Of course, when you kill a monster by battle, you're going to summon another copy of Hydrogeddon from your deck. That one presumably can attack directly and deal combat damage to discard a card out of their hand, which is really powerful. But also the card advantage off of just the Hydrogeddon itself has been really good for me, not even having the Robbin Goblin. Being able to just build a bunch of board and then set some traps behind it, it's just been very powerful, and I've just been really impressed with this card running into tomatoes and getting a lot of value. And of course, when you have the Goblin, you can just really go off with this card. So that is it for the monsters. Onto some spells. Of course, we have some 1-for-1 removal. 3 copies of Smashing Ground. Card's just really strong. Going to clear the way for our guys to get a big swing in for the attack. Getting the discard with Robbin Goblin really strong. And also just 1-for-1 removal plan with gadgets. Of course, we have an additional removal spell and 1 copy of Soultaker. The life points don't really matter in this deck. You're going to try and, because like you're kind of like threatening their resources in so many different ways, that you're going to just run them out of cards if you have the Goblin, or if you just have multiple card advantage ways. You know, ways to get card advantage off of Hydrogeddon, off of Robbin Goblin, off of gadgets. The life points don't really matter. You're just going to win by card advantage, and I like the 1 Soultaker for a 4th removal spell in the main deck. Really sweet card. 3 copies of Shrink. I went with Shrink instead of Book of Moon. I think it combos a little bit a little bit better with Robbin Goblin. Of course, you're gonna try and like attack over your opponent's monsters with Hydra but I actually think it's better than Book of Moon with gadgets as well, because gadgets can sometimes not get over the defense position monster that you book down. This card just enables an attack that is profitable, whether you summon a gadget, get a +1 attack, and then if they like respond with a deep prison because they expect to shrink or something, like doesn't matter. Like they just wasted a deep prison on your gadget, you're at a +1 anyway. And if they don't, you can just shrink and get them attack over their monsters, which is really strong. And of course, this also just helps you enable Robbin Goblin with any monster in your deck, being able to solve a big problem that is in play while also threatening their hand size is extremely powerful. Obviously insane with Hydra when you can get that going. But 3 shrinks has been really, really strong for me. 2 copies of Card Trader. I kind of wanted to play all 3, to be honest. I've been playing with this card quite a bit. I think it's really good because this deck can just threaten so many like avenues of getting card advantage that you really just lose to yourself in the games where you get going and then draw like a million gadgets. This card just makes sure that you can't do that. It goes really well with your other engines, you know, getting dead Hydra out of your hands. You can summon them out of the deck. That happens more times than you know, as well as Deep Sea Divas. You have too many Divas, you have a Smiling Gilman in your hand, get that card back in the deck, go find what you're looking for. And 2 copies, I think the third can sometimes be a little bit of a liability. Drawing multiples isn't really the best thing to be doing because, you know, you don't want to just set 5 unless you have good protection to set, you know, protect those back rows. So 2 Card Traders, it's been really fun, it's been really good. It just fixes the problems that the Gadget decks have. 1 copy of Brain Control. This one is kind of the most sus card in the deck, as it kind of combos with 2 things. Robbin Goblin, taking their monster, normal summoning Gadget, and then hitting them for 2. A lot of times you just give them their monster back, but also then it could combo with Deep Sea Diva, of course, which is just insane if you have the Robbin Goblin, but if you don't, you just summon Diva and then sync her with her monster, which is also a reasonable play. I like it for the high upside. I think these type of Gadget control decks need high upside type cards, and Brain Control is, of course, one of those ones. We have 1 copy of Pot of Avarice. I just have 1 because in the very late game, it's going to be really powerful for us, but I don't want to draw it at any point early because all of our cards generate card advantage. We don't really need that big burst of card advantage or like get the engine back in until it's really all gone. And a lot of times if we've like Diva'd and Gadgeted, we don't really need to do it again to actually win the game. If the game has gone long, we likely are in a very good position. However, I do think in some control matchups, you do want the Pot of Avarice to come up, and you can just draw it late game, and it's a very powerful top deck. We have 1 copy of MST. Just problematic cards like Skill Drain can really hurt this deck, so we have that in the main. Trap cards, a lot of them. We have 3D Prison, clears the way for your Gadgets to get in and hit directly with Robbin Goblin. We just want as much removal as possible in most Gadget decks. We then have 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole. Same thing, just very standard, getting the opponent's creatures out of play. 2 copies of Ultimate Offering. This card's nuts with Diva. Diva and Gadget plus is just like actually insane. Being able to just completely go off and like OTK your opponent, play around multiple back rows with Bryonic. Like I said, you tend to like bounce all their back rows, then you discard a card, bounce your Diva back to your hand, go into Mistworm after that, get rid of all their monsters. Really insane combos with this card, and it was one of the first decks, combo cards that I really built around in Edison format when I got back into it, because this card is extremely broken. Really strong with Robbin Goblin, of course. Just put 5 Gadgets into play and threaten to loop their entire hand. Like, insane card. Really, really strong, and people should play Gadgets. I think they're pretty good. Again, all through Robbin Goblins. Card's just sweet. Build decks with this. There's so many different cool decks I have in mind with this that I've been testing, and this card's just been really, really sweet. We have Torrential and Mirror Force, clearing the way, general removal. We have 1 main Dust Tornado, again, mainly for skill drain and like a well-timed depression. Get rid of those. We then have some protection here for our back row, Solemn Judgment. We have Solid Road, and of course Dark Bribe. I like the flexibility of these 3. I don't want to go like 2 roads and a Solemn. I think you can do that if you really wanted to, but I like the ability to just like snipe a Future Fusion with this card, like some card that like you just can't beat. Being able to also protect from Heavy Storm as well as get a card like Future Fusion is very strong. And also just the card usually doesn't really matter when you're drawing an extra card every turn off of the gadgets, and Card Trader make sure that you're not bricking. I just like Dark Bribe quite a bit in this list, in these gadget style decks. So the one Dark Bribe. And then, of course, would not be an SSG deck profile without the one copy of Trap Dust Shoe. Now, let's be real here. This is a 45-card deck, but guess what? We are going to open Trap Dust Shoe all the time and just outscale our opponent every step of the way. Turn 1, we're going to open Dust Shoot. It's going to be amazing. We're going to see they don't have an answer for Robbin Goblin, and we're going to loop their hand. Insane. On to the extra deck. Just pretty standard. Armory Arm for Brain Control and Diva to get rid of Dupe Block. The rest of it's pretty standard. You have Catastrophe Android. Cryonic, really important for the Ultimate Offering loops. We have the Goyo. I like the one Flameville or Quasar for piercing with Robbin Goblin. The card's really good. Just finds a way to get an additional card out of your opponent's hand is really strong. And a Piercer just threatening with Robbin Goblin is just over and over is just really powerful, in my opinion. We have 1/7 in Black Rose. Actually, do we have another 7? No, just 1. 2 Stardust. We have another Starlight Road on the side, so we want to run 2 of those. Then we have Colossal Fighter, Red Dragon Archfiend, Thought Ruler Archfiend. I have 1 Dark End Dragon because you can make it versus Caius with Brain Control. But honestly, Caius isn't really that great against us. All our monsters replace themselves, so might just like play some other tech card, but I think it's really powerful in general. And Caius is a powerful monster that we can take and synchro with. 1 Mistworm, really integral for our Ultimate Offering plays with Diva. You're going to make this at the end of your combo and then OTK the opponent. And then we have 1 copy of Camera Tech for the Cyber Dragons on the sideboard. Sideboard, I have all 3 copies of Doom Caliber Knight. Card's really interesting. I think just being able to trade with like cards that are very hard to trade with is very good. I think it clears the way for your gadgets to get in there with Robbin Goblin. Card's just pretty standard. I think it's solid. I would never like do like Doom Caliber gadgets as like a deck. I don't think it's that great. I think it's playable, but I think that Doom Caliber adds something to this deck that you know, is pretty good at dealing with like recruiters and things of that nature. So card's pretty solid. 2 or 3 in the side is usually where I land on that card in the gadget decks. You have 2 copies of Cyber Dragon. Really good at Robbin Goblin. Just drop that into play, summon a gadget next to it, attack, and then you have to like contact out afterwards because you don't want to get contacted. But hey, card's really good. Threatens a lot of things, attacks over a lot of stuff. I like 2 copies of Banisher here. Now, I like Banisher because this deck attacks from so many different angles. You're trying to beat them on card advantage, you're depleting their resources with Robbin Goblin, and just having a Macrocosmos in play is just extremely powerful when you're doing all those things at once. You're attacking their graveyard, attacking their hand, attacking the board position with cards like Smashing Ground. I just like this card. I think it's really good. It also is a monster that combos with Robbin Goblin, so a little bit better than Macro, but I like the 2 Banisher. Additional copy of Soultaker. I just always end up wanting a 5th removal spell in some matchups. Sometimes even wanting to go up to 6, but I elected to go with the 5th one in the sideboard here. Soultaker is really strong. I like it quite a bit. We then have 2 copies of Real Oppression. You can really go into like a stun version, taking out cards like Diva and or Hydrogeddon, go into like Cyber Dragon, Banisher, Doom Caliber, and just really become like a control deck, which is fine. I think those style of gadget decks are really good in certain matchups. Some decks just can't deal with all the back row and things like that, and Real Oppression's a really strong card, and we want to have access to it if our deck can use it. I do end up going to Macrocosmos just because, like I said, you're attacking multiple resources, you're attacking on different avenues, and I think this card just does a lot. Just really powerful card, and I think like one thing that comes up a lot is like this card with like Hydrogeddon. Like your opponent has like a Treeborn Frog, and then you're just like summon Hydrogeddon, flip Macro, and then suddenly like the game is over. Like you just kill over the thing, you get a Hydrogeddon, you attack directly. If you have Goblin, the game is literally over. Yeah, really strong card. I think it does a lot for this deck. 1 copy of Compulsed. I love the tempo on this card in this deck. Of course, it clears the way for our discard Robbin Goblin, but also just being able to interact with like synchro plays and things like that. And I think if you like bounce their tuner away, it leaves like a random monster that you can attack over with Hydrogeddon a lot of the time. Card just has a lot of synergies. I wanted to main deck it, but I ended up going with the Soultaker in the main over it. I think I just wanted something a little more proactive, especially in a deck that runs like 16 or 17 traps. So I just wanted to put this in the side. I think it's really good, and it does a lot for this deck, so maybe try and fit it into the main. We then have another copy of Dust Tornado and another copy of Starlight Road. Really need to protect those card traders, Robbin Goblins, and all that. So these two wrap up our sideboard. So that is about it, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the deck in the comments section below. I think this deck is really awesome. I think people sleep on Ultimate Offering. People are definitely sleeping on Robbin Goblin. That card is just really, really sweet. Card just does like so much work. I like it quite a bit. Hydra Geddon has been a sweet little tech. I don't know if you can put it into like any random deck, you know, that isn't trying to like loop with this card or something like that. But I think just being able to gain card advantage off that card, and you know, especially when you're discarding cards of your opponent's hand, you just want free monsters to summon. So really interesting deck. I like it quite a bit, and I hope you guys try it out. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of play with it. You can mess around, and like there's a lot of things you can change out and things like that. So that's about it, guys. Drop a like, comment what you thought about the deck, and without further ado, this is Dan V from SSG signing out.